It's just a time lapse. So I'm down here today because Big Ben in 45 minutes time is going to be ringing for the last time for 4 years. They're switching it off, they're turning off the bell. It's like a massive metaphor for what's going on with the state right now. It's getting covered in scaffold, and there'll be changes that happen that are hidden to the public. I'm talking about Brexit really. Changes happening. You may be aware that actually switching off Big Ben, I mean it's quite metaphoric, and it's quite, well, the clock tower itself of course has always been a big symbol for the city. It's very symbolic, very meaningful. People get very distracted standing here looking up at Big Ben. So distracting, in fact, they don't necessarily spot this green plaque, which is quite enlightening to the entire thing, really, the entire site. John Peake Knight, inventor of the world's first traffic lights, which were erected here 1868. And traffic lights in Parliament Square, if you think about it, it's quite a simple thing called order out of chaos. I mean, things like Parliament Square, I mean, always been very, very busy, always like people everywhere, hanging around, protesting, no matter what. And when it was all like carriage traffic, etc., they wanted to stop the chaos, so they brought about order. And actually, order out of chaos is, in a lot of ways, what the clock tower has always been about. It was the most accurate mechanical clock on Earth when it was established, so it was quite an impressive system to create a perfect, efficient order in terms of timekeeping. Nothing worse than people being late. You have to start meetings late. That chops off the end of the day, possibly. It rolls into another week. It rolls into another year. Projects get delayed. Much better if everybody turns up exactly on time. And how would you know the time, even if you were far away? Well, that's why it ended up being called Big Ben. Very big noise, which traveled the sound out to people's ears. So they literally had no excuse to be late. A lot of people turning up now. 25 minutes to go. It's probably going to be like a massive anticlimax, and the bell is actually so broken that when it rings for the last time at 12 o'clock, you'll hear this massive clang as the bell snaps in half and then falls out of the glass clock faces or something. That would be photogenic. That would make the news, wouldn't it? The history of the clock tower, actually, the design of it, is actually a really interesting concept. Augustus Pugin, just one of the architects, but he's accredited with designing Big Ben. In fact, it was the last thing he designed before he ended up in a mental institution. He literally went completely insane and died at the age of 40. But Augustus Pugin really was like the progenitor of the idea, in England at least, of a thing called a panopticon. It's the idea of a single watchman who can see into every single cell in a prison. Now, the prisoners wouldn't be able to see the guardsmen. There would be like a shielded or obscured glass or something, so that the prisoners wouldn't know whether they were being watched or not. Only being one watchman, however, he couldn't possibly watch everybody, but because the prisoners wouldn't know who was being watched, they would all behave as if they were being watched at all times. Augustus Pugin, his ideas about his sketches really of like panoptica were based on sort of villages, where the villagers would be sort of watched and punished if they did something wrong, and if the workforce weren't working properly, they had a whole system of like efficiency of guidance and control. But his ideas were developed into sort of the prison idea by Jeremy Bentham, who I've actually talked about before. This sort of funny checkers. It's one of the hallmarks of Augustus Pugin. He liked checkered patterns. Interesting. In terms of like establishing this clock tower, it's a very accurate timekeeper that everybody should go along with. It's not a panopticon, It's a pansonicon. And I'm pretty sure I just made that word up. Pansonicon, but I think it's quite a good word. It just basically means everyone can hear it. And the particular note that they chose for the bell was the note E, which apparently spiritually, and this is something they would have learned from the ancient world, spiritually, harmoniously, the human body reacts to the note E by becoming more concentrated and more, well, it reminds them, I guess, that they should be serious and they should be working, and there's some kind of project that must be done. The note G, which is used in Westminster Abbey, sort of does the opposite thing to the human body. It makes you feel relaxed, like there's not much to do and it's all peaceful and there's nothing wrong with the world. So ringing out the note E in a very purposefully loud way essentially is the pansonicon. It's reminding everybody who can hear it that strictly they should be adhering to the very system that is administered within this supposedly powerful building. The only problem now is that it's being not dismantled but put out of service, and I just can't help but feel that it's the state that is going out of service. They're getting rid of a strong, orderly principle and they're replacing it with essentially a reign of chaos. It's almost like it's part of a psychological strategy to remind everybody that things are changing and that the government as we know it is being replaced, restructured internally and externally to resemble something else. So it's done. The time has come. The building will be restored. Maybe the state will be restored to its medieval, ancient flavour. Ultimate power held by just a few individuals, and the rest of everyone else held in a kind of strict servitude with harsh punishments for not serving the state.